Pick Six with Mully and Haugh starts now.
Other than the Nico Hoerner return game on Friday, the Cubs really have struggled in Philadelphia. How would things be different if Cody Bellinger hadn't gone on the IL with his knee? Why have both Hoerner and Bellinger been put on the IL after initially being called day-to-day?
That's a mystery that is in a box and it's on a train heading somewhere. Very enigmatic. What they were... Was that just... Are you just hoping for something good to go on? That I don't understand. I thought, honestly, with both players, I thought, wow, that looked bad. And then they were like, well, Nico likes to kind of... He will show pain, but he doesn't really feel any, so he's fine. And the Bellinger thing that looked like a serious injury, didn't it? Like, man, the knee buckled but maybe they were just trying to be hopeful, and you can manipulate that injured list by saying, well, we're going to date it back to whenever he went out initially. But I think it's bothersome because you kind of have these expectations. Everything's okay. Everybody's going to be fine. And then it's disappointing. I felt all along, and I think we talked about this last week, that Bellinger couldn't come back as fast as they were saying, given what that looked like. And it didn't matter. The film was clean. There was nothing there. Well, something was wrong, and now he's on the injured list. It's a little bit frustrating. I don't think they're trying to manipulate it or they're trying to be overly hopeful, and they're certainly not rushing people back. But it's just weird. It's just weird that that's happened a couple times in a row, and it makes you wonder what's going on.
Well, obviously, at least for Friday night, as Nico went, the Cubs went. He had a nice, really great return. He played really well, and that helped them finally find a little bit of offense. I was surprised, and what bothers me the most is that, I believe it was Wednesday, we were told that Cody Bellinger was available to pinch hit if needed. He wasn't needed. He didn't pinch hit. Then they had the day off. Then all of a sudden, he's on the injured list. Okay. I mean, maybe it's got something to do with the matchups against Philadelphia. Maybe he didn't have a strong, and then they were getting today off. So they felt like, hey, by the time we get back to Wrigley on Tuesday, he'll have had 5-6 days off his feet, and he should be ready to go, knock on something the rest of the way. Maybe that's it. I don't know why. This is a great question for Jed or Carter when they jump on the station, if that's like their philosophy not to rush into that, but it seems odd.
Yeah, but I think that when he was initially diagnosed, if you want to call it that, I think there was a fear that it was really serious because of the way it looked on TV or looked at everyone watching like, wow, that could be bad. And then they were more optimistic, maybe even relieved. And I think that relief was expressed publicly, and maybe they got a little ahead of themselves. And maybe it was a little bit more optimistic. I frankly was more surprised at that optimism than I was him going on the 10-day injured list. They do have depth at that position. They don't want to take chances with the guy who has been, scuffling this month at the plate after a really strong start. So give him a break. I didn't look at it as more than that. Nico Hoerner coming back was huge because, as we heard from David Ross on Friday before the game, Dustin, you'll like this, he compared Nico Hoerner's presence to Dexter Fowler's presence in 2016. He go, we go. Nico, we go. That's Zach's. But I do think that having Nico back makes an impact. I think Cody Bellinger, you got to be careful. You got to be careful because of the way he plays and what his range is in center field. But he's also not a guy that historically has missed games because of injuries. He had the one season where he was struggling, then he was injured. But I don't think you look at his career, and he's not been a guy that misses a lot of time. Played in 144 games last year. This may be a short-term thing. Let's hope so because they need him back. The Cubs hit 13 home runs on this road trip. 11 came from Christopher Morel and Seiya Suzuki. That's not good enough.
There's a lot of question marks within that.
What was the greatest disappointment in the Cubs' 2-7 road trip? Was it the collective 13 of 64 with runners in scoring position? That's a 2.03 average. Or was it the collective pitching struggles? The bullpen had a over 9 ERA while starting rotation managed a 6.45 ERA.
No doubt to me, this is about the pitching. This is about the pitching letting the Cubs down. We got good performance from Marcus Stroman. You got a quality start from Justin Steele. Other than that, Other than that, there's nothing to see here except for trouble. This is not good. Now Adbert Alzolay took his turn as the bullpen guy to disappoint Cub fans. This is happening way too frequently in the bullpen. I don't know where the answers go. The pitching lab is broken, and that's bad. And meanwhile, Jamison Tyone, your $68 million free agent starter, is about to join the rotation he doesn't want to join with other Cub past free agent flops. Jamie Navarro, Jose Guzman, Edwin Jackson, Danny Jackson, and your fifth starter, Jamison Tyone. Get better soon. Otherwise, Kyle Hendricks is going to replace you. I don't care where they put Jamison Tyone. The injured list is a good start. You got to get better than that. But to me, no doubt about it, this was about the pitching collapse.
Yeah, Tyone probably needs to sit down and watch for a little bit. Hopefully Tommy Hotovy can get his hands on him. I can't wait for you guys to talk to Tommy Hotovy on Wednesday this week. But the pitching was so good early on, except for Tyone, that it feels even worse because they came out of the gates so well, kept them in games. There's been so many quality starts. It's the bullpen more than it is the starting pitchers, and then it's the which piece to play when aspect of all of this as well. It's a disappointment. It really is. Now they did play those 9 games were against 3 good teams overall. Those teams will probably be in the postseason this year or close to it. Cubs not quite there yet.
Obviously the pitching is a problem, okay? And I don't know that it's the starting pitching. You're right about Tyon. I mean, that's a rough one. And then you got Kyle Hendricks ready to come up, so I don't know. I mean, I think that they've got some issues. The bullpen is a disaster, and we don't know when that's going to be resolved. We don't know when the bullpen or how it's going to. We haven't really seen them since they sent Keegan Thompson down. Who's the answer now? What is the answer now? I mean, go make a big trade for Joe Kelly. It's the only way out of this. Who are you going to give up for Joe
Kelly? Who are you going to give up?
I think
Dustin said Madrigal. That's not going to get it done.
Pete Crow Armstrong, someone like that. You get that deal done right now.
What's he looking at me for?
That wouldn't get it done?
Probably not.
Joe Kelly's had a really nice week.
Joe Kelly is a much more proven reliever than Nick Madrigal is.
Disappointment for the White Sox.
Joe Kelly is unhittable right now. Are you out there looking?
And much more proven than Nick Madrigal. So,
Sox are in desperate need of a second baseman.
Pete Crow Armstrong. Can he play second?
The most asked question should be.
Voice of Steve Stone. He's here at 9. What's the biggest reason the White Sox resurgence punctuated with a weekend sweep of the Royals? Where is your level of belief right now?
Yeah, my level of belief is not over the top, I would say, right? I mean, I liked their resurgence, and I liked the sweep of the Royals. But, the problem that they have is they went through this 10-game losing streak, and they're 10 games below 500. So had they been able to limit that in any fashion, they'd be in a much better spot. The problem is they need to win games. They need sweeps, and they are not – they haven't had a 7 or 8 game winning streak. I mean, I get it. They've won 5 of the last 6, but whoop-de-doo. I mean, you got to do better than that, frankly. As long as you keep winning series, I suppose you're eventually going to catch up. But this is a nice turn of the schedule, and that's all we're looking at. And, do they have more talent than other teams in that division? It's a bad division. And the division is keeping them. But didn't Minnesota figured out a way to lose yesterday? So you picked up another game. So, I mean, it's fine. They're 6.5 out, something like that. That's fine. But you've got to, at some point, start being a team that is winning, that is a winning team, and not just against the also-rans.
Well, I think the reason is the pitching. Their starters have put together a couple of good games back-to-back.
You just lost
Lance
one,
Lynn,
though.
right?
You just lost one, and they have no replacement. They're going to bring up a guy.
Right. We'll see. I mean, we're going to see. That it's a big start tonight for Schultens, if I'm saying that right, hopefully. Let's see what happens. But they did what they needed to do against the Royals. The Royals came in here. The White Sox embarrassed themselves in Kansas City a little over a week ago. The Royals came in and they swept them. That's exactly what they needed to do, and they did it. And if you looked at that lineup yesterday, it's like, ooh, does Pedro really want to sweep this team? You wondered out loud, at least I did, line up Easting. And I saw that on social media, what his lineup was going to be. I was like, Andrew Vaughn's out. Guys out of the game.
What are you suggesting? That he would not want to sweep his former team?
I'm not suggesting. I'm just saying,
he didn't last time.
Did they really? They won the. It felt like on Sunday morning that they had won the series,
right?
And that was good enough.
Yeah, well, they settled.
They had Tim sit down. He didn't come in.
PA and Andrew.
Did you see the injury, by the way, to Hanser Alberto?
Yeah, he leads the league in weird injuries or causing weird injuries.
Let me tell you something. That was like Jose Cardinal type bizarre.
He signaled he was safe, and then he pulled a muscle.
He signaled safe as he hit first.
Yeah.
And he pulled something in his shoulder and went down in a heap.
Biggest reason
going like this. What?
Yeah, it would look pretty weird. Biggest reason for the White Sox, obviously, Kopech, Giolito, Lynn. Pitching like they are supposed to pitch. Pitching like they should have been starting the season, but didn't. So Lance Lynn, 2 starts in a row, build on that. Lucas Giolito, been pretty good. And Michael Kopech, is that just a tease, or is that who we're going to see from now on? Because he was outstanding, lights out. That's the guy that you fall in love with in terms of his potential. And now you see that kind of production. Wow. In terms of the lineups, yeah, Sunday did make you wonder. It did make you wonder about what was going to happen, but the Royals are a bad team. Level of belief, when they get to 500, then ask me what I think the Sox chances are. Ozzie kind of was facetious in saying the team that's going to win that division is going to be under 500. Terry Francona kind of poo-pooed that idea. I'm with him. But for the Sox to get to 83 victories, let's say, as Bruce said they could do on Saturday and predicted they would, they'd have to be like 63-50 now. I don't know if this team is capable of doing that, but when they get to 500, ask me again.
What was the other part of that question?
Voice of John Heyman. He's here at 725. Jake Berger, one of the hottest hitters on the White Sox, but he is a man without a true position. So what was your reaction when Pedro Grifol didn't rule out Berger playing the outfield? What will the Sox do with Berger when Eloy Jimenez returns?
Well, I heard that and I was like, no, not again. I thought that we were done with this experimenting about guys and infielders in the outfield, and Gavin Sheets is a big enough risk and a reach. Here's what I feel like. Jake Berger's got to stay in the lineup as long as he keeps hitting the long ball as often as he is. I would prefer, rather than putting him out there as a trial basis and maybe exposing him to further injury, I don't believe I'm even saying this, but I think that Eloy Jimenez in right field does make more sense now because we have to change the way we're looking at this picture because Oscar Colas is out of it. And so given the Sox what they're doing well, who's performing, and Eloy coming back, yeah, the rehab stint, he's got to feel more comfortable in right field because I think that may be where he is more often than not. You got some options, you got some tinkering to do, but to keep Berger in the lineup, I'm okay with Eloy in right field if the other alternative is trying Berger there. No, I would not do that.
But I think the key to all this is that you ideally want Berger, Sheets, and Eloy in the lineup. So how do you do that? Here's what you do. And I've brought this up before. It wasn't popular. It won't be popular now. Moncada goes to second. Berger goes to third. Eloy DHs and Sheets in right field.
I don't think they're going to do that. I understand why you would try it because Moncada has played second before.
That's your best offensive lineup right there.
Who's their second baseman right now? Who's their second baseman?
They don't have one.
Well, they
Romy
probably, and he had a good game for himself.
How bad is Andrews hurt?
I don't know.
Elvis
I haven't gotten any kind of
has
update
left the
on
building,
that.
and when is he coming back?
I mean, would you be totally opposed to that idea of Moncada going to second?
No.
I might go back down. I might try Lenin Sosa again. I don't know how he's hitting. I think he's been doing pretty well. But I'm just saying, I think
I'm just trying to get all three of those bats in the lineup on the same day.
I understand what you're trying to do. But
Dustin's put together a very good softball team.
Yeah, but that's the problem, Dustin, is, so Berger's a liability at third base. He's just, he's not.
He's kind of Patrick Wisdom over there, right?
Okay,
I know.
He's a liability at third base. He's not as good a third baseman as Yoan Moncada. There's no way. And, you can't move Berger to second. So I think that, maybe Andrew Vaughn is the odd man out if you need all those bats in the lineup. Maybe you got one guy DHing, one guy in right field, and one guy at first base. And I'm not saying that's ideal, but just based on the production of the bats, you got to wonder. But you got a hard decision to make here. I think you've got to set yourself up defensively. I think you really do.
Berger has put yourself in a really difficult spot, but it's a nice problem to have.
It's a great problem to have. I'm not saying it isn't, but I don't think he's a very good third baseman, and Yoan is so good there, and I wouldn't want him to move to second and kind of, carry that to the plate.
Pick six!
Both the NBA's conference finals have series at 3-0. Will both end in a sweep? Do the Celtics or the Lakers have the better chance to come back?
Oh, boy. I mean, I don't think either of those teams have a chance to come back. I believe the statistic is 149-0. That is any team in a conference final in NBA history that goes down 3-0. And both those teams are down 3-0, and neither one looks capable of coming back. I guess I would have to say that the Celtics are more likely to lose than the Lakers are. I don't think the Lakers are going to win. I think the Lakers will be closed out in 4, but at least they're at home. The Celtics lost the first 2 games at home. They go on the road. They're facing, they got to win a game, and they get blown out. And they don't seem interested. Jimmy didn't go crazy yesterday, okay? It was seemingly winnable, and they weren't even in the game.
Everybody else did.
They weren't even in the game,
crazy.
Man. And that's just insane to me. So I think they got a coaching problem. I think they got a playing problem. I think they're going to probably have to break up that team a little bit, and they definitely have to fire the coach, because everybody in the league has fired the coach, and he's done a worse job in this series than any of the guys that have been run out already. So I think that the Boston Celtics are the bigger disappointment and are the bigger problem, but the Lakers don't. They just look done. They look finished.
You're 100% right. I think both will end in sweeps. I think the Celtics have definitely quit on that coach. I wonder, does Brad Stevens go into that locker room at all to try to save this thing? Is it just too late? Is there any chance Brad Stevens could go back to the bench? He did a pretty good job there. We'll have to wait and see. And you had said it in the opening segment, Mully, that the Lakers just look old. LeBron looks old. Anthony Davis just... That guy, talk about somebody that's really confusing. I don't get him. I don't get him at all. He should be scoring 30 a night and absolutely dominating. And I get that he's playing against the Joker, but I'm just saying in general, and he doesn't. I don't understand 1 out of every 3 games. He looks unbelievable. So I think it's bad for the NBA, though, to have... Not that it's bad to have Nuggets Heat. I think it's bad that they could end in sweeps like this.
It is.
And then you sit around and wait.
Games.
And then you sit around and wait till June the 1st.
Blowouts. Yeah, I agree.
Zero momentum.
I agree. How loud will the clamoring be for Doc Rivers to come back to Boston if they fire Joe Mazzulla? Goodness sakes. Wouldn't that be something? Why wouldn't you consider that? Why wouldn't you get the coach who has done it before, and you have options now? And I would not be optimistic if I were Joe Mazzulla or the Celtics. They may salvage one more victory, but I don't think that it's going to be anybody but the Heat in the finals from the Eastern Conference. They look like a team getting it together at the right time. By the way, did anybody know where Gabe Vincent went to college? Did you know that he was the pride of St. Mary's? No, nobody knew who he was before yesterday. That guy was a difference in that game. Max Strus having a good series. Jimmy Butler is doing everything that he needs to do, and he didn't have a great game, but this is what happens when you have a great coach, and he gets the most out of his roster. Lakers are done. So it is bad for the NBA, I think, to have series go like this, but it looks like it's a matter of, I think the Nuggets sweep, but maybe the Celtics win one more.
It obviously makes that question even easier.
That's the voice of Casey Johnson. And Casey Johnson reported the speculation at the recent NBA Draft Combine here in town involved the Blazers shopping the number 3 pick, with the Bulls having to be willing to offer a package that includes Zach LaVine in order to get their attention. Would you be willing to trade LaVine for the number 3 overall pick this year if you were AK?
Juicy speculation. The rumor mill is churning. No, I would not. I would have a conversation with them about number 3. DeMar DeRozan I would throw in. You want DeRozan and Vooch sign and trade? You want to do something like that? Perhaps. I don't think I would get rid of Zach LaVine. I don't think I would trade him for the number 3 pick. I don't think there's enough certainty there. And it depends on what direction you're going, I suppose. If you are rebuilding and hitting reset, maybe you would consider that more than you would normally. But I just don't think that I would entertain that trade possibility. I think Zach is not untouchable, but I just don't think there's enough there to make that a serious conversation.
I'd have to really think about it. If you trade Zach, though, you are talking about taking a huge step back, right? That means that you're not if you trade Zach LaVine, you would not sign Vucevic this offseason. If you trade Zach LaVine, that means you're also trading DeMar DeRozan. That wouldn't make any sense. Now, all of a sudden, you would have money. Right now they don't have assets and they don't have cash available to them to spend. So that would be the only upside, I believe, because you would have a ton of money in the future to spend. But do they want to go through a massive rebuild? And who's the number 3 pick in this draft?
Brandon Miller?
Is that something that the Bulls want to entertain? I'm just saying,
Great
right?
for talk radio.
When you trade a guy, let's put it this way: Zach LaVine, for all the things you could say against him, and there's plenty.
Yeah.
I don't worry, unless I'm missing it. Seems like a really good teammate. Seems like a really good guy off the court, and he does have a lot of talent. But I mean, if you're trading him for Miller and all those questions right now that go with that. That would be a tough sell, I think.
By all accounts, the Bulls had meetings with Miller and got along with him famously, and they have cleared him of whatever the character issues are, by all accounts. So I'm not sure he's the guy at 3. It might be the point guard. The point guard thinks he could go 1.
He thinks he could go 1, right?
But look at the teams that are drafting 1 and 2, and he may wind up. I mean, the Bulls need a point guard. So he could wind up at 3.
Yep.
The problem is, who replaces then the scoring of Zach LaVine? I don't know. DeMar's kind of. Yeah, I don't know if I would do that. Frankly, I'm not sure that I would do that, because it would again depend. You need more. You would need more. So you'd have to have both their picks, or what? Don't they have an extra?
The second and the 23rd.
So they're supposed to convey something to you.
Or third. I'm sorry, the 3rd and the 23rd. Yeah.
Maybe if you got both picks, I don't know, but it would have to be more than just the rights to one player, and I don't even know how they feel about the point guard. I'd be very curious to find out.